Hello, and welcome to Vintage Horror Movies, where we provide commentary, analysis, and critiques of older horror movies. This week, we're talking about Metropolis. Metropolis is a silent movie made in Germany in 1927. It is horror adjacent, and that is, it is more sci fi than horror. However, this movie is so important to both the German expressionist movement, which we've talked about several times here, and to filmmaking as a whole that I wanted to include it. Directed by Fritz Lang, written by Lang and his wife Thea von Harbaut. It's from her 1925 novel by the same name. Art direction by Otto Hunt, Eric Kettelhut, and Karl Vollbreck, starring Brigitte Helm as Maria, Gustav Froelich as Freder, Alfred Abel as Joe Fredersen, the city master and Freder's father, and Rudolph Klein Rogue as mad scientist C.A. Rotwang, produced by the film studio UFA. This film is most remembered for its cutting-edge special effects and its amazing production design, including its Art Deco touches. The scale of the movie is amazing, even 100 years later. There are several different versions of this movie. A few include Lang's original, which was 153 minutes, so that's 2 hours and 33 minutes. This version was only shown in Berlin in a few weeks in 1927. Many have criticized the length of the film. Then we have in the US Paramount's 113-minute version. The US version cut out the whatever you want to call it, fascist, Marxist, socialist themes, so the film would be more palatable to U.S. audiences. Then there's the U.S. 1984 version, which was by musician Giorgio Moroder. It's 80 minutes long. It contains colorization, subtitles instead of title cards, and a new score that includes music by Freddie Mercury, Loverboy, and Adam Ant. And then there's a version from 2001, which includes F.W. Murnau's version, as well as it combines negatives from some of the missing scenes and subplots. They were thought lost to time, but later discovered in Buenos Aires, Argentina, where they were in the hands of a private collector. These two parts together are called the Kino Lorber, the complete Metropolis, which is now considered the definitive version of the film. And then in 2010, there was another reconstruction at 145 minutes. Where can you watch this movie? The free version is available on Tubi, Roku, Pluto, Crackle, Plex, other places for a fee. And you can watch the 2010 restored version on Hoopla. This version is 2 hours and 28 minutes long. And Hoopla is typically a library resource like Overdrive. So I want to check with my library and see if I have that. I watched the 2 hour and 3 minute version on Tubi, which I think is the Kino Lorber version. Rotten Tomato scores, critics gave it 97, audiences gave it a 92, which is not bad for 100 years old. In January 2023, the film's American Reserve copyright expired. This means it has entered public domain, but as I always say, just because the film's in public domain doesn't mean the restored version or any accompanying music is in the public domain as well. The plot, and there's quite a bit of plot. Metropolis is a futuristic dystopia, and the movie starts with lots of gears moving. So let me just show you a skyscape of what it looks like. Lots of things flying around, lots of cars, all sorts of stuff going on. Then there's a shift change, what looks like thousands of workers in identical clothes moving identically with their heads down load onto giant cargo elevators and head down to a giant subterranean city where they all live in very poor conditions. While the poor live below ground, the wealthy live in the skyscrapers at the top of the city, and they have every convenience imaginable. One day, the city master's son, Freder, has a chance meeting with Maria, who is showing some poor children from below how the other half lives. He falls in love with her at first sight. Show you a picture of that. So he goes to the underground to look for her. He has no idea what horrific conditions the workers toil under. He vows to change things and disguises himself as a worker after he sees a number of people killed on the job. The workers spend a lot of time turning clock dials. Not sure what this does, but just roll with it. I think it is supposed to depict how they're wasting all of their time toiling away. Rotwang, who's the town's inventor, is secretly building a robot. He was in love with a woman named Hel, Hel, who incidentally left him to marry Joe and died giving birth to Freder. Joe wants to get the workers to revolt so they can see how much they need him, and also, I think, to kill some of them to scare them. Joe thinks he and Rotwang are working together to accomplish this. But nope, they are not. Rotwang secretly plans to kill Feder and destroy Metropolis. So the plan they come up with is to put Maria's face on the robot that was originally supposed to be Hel. And the reason they're doing that is because the workers trust Maria. False Maria tells the workers they must revolt against the higher up and destroy all of their machinery. So here is the iconic image of the robot, and it's going to end up with Maria's face. And here is fake Maria, and you can tell she's fake Maria because she has one eye closed, so that's pretty funny. Then a bunch of other stuff happens. One is fake Maria doing a seductive dance. I think that's to keep the upper class distracted while the workers mutiny. I wasn't too sure about that. I think I have two pictures of this. Here's one, and then here's one with all the men at the bottom. I guess maybe that dance was erotic back in 1927. It seemed a bit strange to me. Or the other option might be it's a robot trying to do an erotic dance. So, either way, um, not really sure why that was included. I think it could have been left out, but that's what was happening. So eventually, the real Maria escapes, and the machines and everything underground are being destroyed by the workers thanks to the prodding of false Maria. And then there's a big flood, and Maria is doing something, turning these dials, which I think is to close off the gates to all of the water coming in. Meanwhile, all the children are about to drown. And the adults are dancing elsewhere and celebrating their victory, and they apparently have forgotten all about their children. Then Grote, who's one of the head of the workers, asked them what happened and who told them to destroy all the machines, and without the machines they will all die. When the workers found out they were deceived, fake Maria is burned at the stake by the workers, and then they see that she's actually a robot. Rotwang chases real Maria around. Feder and he fight for a long time, ending up on top of a building, and Rotwang eventually plunges to his death. Real Maria is saved. Also, Freder did not know that there was a robot, fake Maria, and so he thought he was having some bad thoughts about Maria, not knowing that it was not her. But they eventually get back together, and Joe and Grote shake hands after Feder, who has fulfilled his destiny as the mediator between the two, convinces them. And the last title card of the movie reads, "The mediator between the head and the hands must be the heart." So here we have Joe on the right. Here we have, I think it's Grot on the left. So, are the workers going to get better working conditions, or are they resigned to live their lives underground in poor conditions? We don't really know because that's where the movie ends. Trivia, there's a little bit, so I'll just go over it real quick. Metropolis is the first full length sci fi movie. It is considered one of the most influential films of all times. This was the first film ever to be registered in the Memory of the World Register of UNESCO in 2001. Filming took some 17 months. Unemployment was so bad in Germany at the time that they had no problem finding 500 children to do the flooding scenes. Lang wanted 4,000 men for the Tower of Babel scene. They could only find 1,000 men willing to shave their heads, so the shot was run through an optical multiplier to make the 1,000 look like 4,000. Now, here's one of the craziest things about this movie. Over 25,000 extras were involved in the making of this movie. And I already said there's no complete version of the original, but the remake gets it to just lacking 8 minutes. The multiple exposed scenes were not created in a lab. They rewound the camera and reshot the scene, and they did this up to 30 times. Metropolis successfully predicted the video phone nearly 100 years ago. Themes explored in the movie include the class divide, social inequality, technological advancements, and if they're being used for good or evil, revolution, the importance of mediation and human compassion, and the dangers of unchecked power. The scene where the workers were fed to Moloch was done in the winter. The working conditions were very bad with the actors freezing. Shooting took so many days that Lang's assistants thought the extras would revolt. They finally told Lang he had enough footage before that happened. Another actor originally played Freder, but Thea wanted Gustav Frolic, who she saw among the extras, to play the lead role instead. Fake Maria's dance in the nightclub was supposed to be a tool of seduction, distraction, and destabilization, as I said. While she was seducing the upper classes, she was encouraging the lower class to rebel, and Lang was warning about the problems of technology without ethics, class division, and the seductive power of spectacle in a mechanized society. Lang insisted that Brigitte Helm be inside the robot costume during the shots with he and Joe, even though you can't tell it's her. The costume was very hot and uncomfortable and had been worn multiple days. She ended up fainting from the ordeal. Helm also did her own stunts, which left her battered, bruised, and sometimes in tears. In the scene where Fake Maria is burned at the stake, they used real fire, and yes, her dress caught fire. The robot was designed by sculptor Walter Schultz Mittendorf. He did it by taking a cast of Brigitte Helm using plastic wood. He then took that cast and built a costume around it that made the costume look metallic but gave her a little wiggle room to move. Lang based his futuristic city on the Art Deco buildings he saw in his visit to New York. Art Deco emphasizes modernity, symmetry, and verticality. It features bold lines, metallic finishes, and stylized ornamentation. Robot Maria was based on this idea as well. Art Deco has a glamour meets industrial aesthetic. Superman creators Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster named their city after this movie. This was the most expensive movie at the time, costing 5 million marks, which today would be $200 million, and almost sent UTA into bankruptcy. Last week we said that Faust was the most expensive movie, also from UTA, but was surpassed a year later by Metropolis. A US version was rewritten after Lang's footage, using Lang's footage, as I said earlier. Lang was not happy with this version and refused to see it. In the US version, all references to Hell, H-E-L, were cut out because it was too close to Hell, H-E-L-L. This probably confused audiences since without Hell, they weren't sure why the robot was being built. The effects expert Eugene Shuftan pioneered a number of visual effects, included using the Shuftan process, where mirrors are used to create the illusion that the actors are occupying miniature sets. To Lang's dismay, Hitler and Goebbels were big fans of the movie. Goebbels told Lang he would, quote, make him an honorary Aryan even though he was Jewish. Lang left for Paris that night. Incidentally, Lang's wife had been an earlier supporter of the Nazi Party and stayed in Germany and made films for them. After the war, she served 2 years in a British prison camp. She later disputed her support for the party. Lang was obsessed with his vision, often mistreating the actors and making them do the shot over and over again in adverse conditions. This is ironic given the subject matter of the film. Rotwang is the prototype for many movie villains, complete with crazy hair, a missing hand, mysterious beakers bubbling with something inside them, and electrical orbs pulsing. Lang said he liked the movie while making it, but hated it once it was done. One of the reasons was the ending, which didn't seem to say much. So, should you watch this movie? I would say yes, definitely. Yes, it is long. No, the plot doesn't make a lot of sense sometimes, but it is truly impressive. Just the sheer number of people on screen at certain times is unbelievable. I'm not sure how some of these people didn't end up getting stomped to death given all the rioting and running scenes. So that's it for Metropolis. Please rate, review, and subscribe if you like what you're hearing. I'd also be interested to hear your thoughts about the movie. Is Metropolis really the most influential movie ever, or is it severely overhyped? So until next time, watch out for fake Marias. Bye.